Women, I think it's a high time all of you at large you start prioritizing your financial independence. And I say this boldly because a lot of women are suffering because majority have put the entire burden in someone else's hands. It doesn't matter if it's your parents, your brother, or your husband or boyfriend. Okay? At the end of the day, remember, nobody's coming to save you. And in this world we're living in, as a woman, if you don't have your finances, you're digging yourself a very, very big grave. And it will be very sad if you fall into that pit that you dug yourself and you cannot crawl out of it just because you refuse to do the right thing. I'm here to talk about that today. Stay with me. Hi, I'm Miss Muithathi and welcome back to my channel. I talk about personal finance, life, without pretending that everything is just easy. Okay? I try so much to be relatable so that I can get through to most. Okay? If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've not, please like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications bell so that you're notified every time I upload another new video. Now, women, whether you're a young girl, a young lady, an older woman, married, single, engaged, whatever, as long as you're a woman, you're a female, this is for you. Okay? I made this video specifically for us, including myself, and the importance of being financially independent. Nowadays, you've seen how being a woman and you're relying on, for example, a man, how dangerous that can be. You've had cases of femicide all over the country, all over the world. These things are happening. It's time that you understand that being a trad wife is no longer a thing. Okay? Being those they call the traditional wife. No. You need to start taking matters in your hands. The earlier you start doing that, the better. Because being a traditional wife, or as they call it nowadays, stay-at-home girlfriend, at the end of the day, it will leave you broke and empty-handed. Remember, these men are going out there, you're supporting them, but they're building themselves. And most of the times, if you look at the statistics, these women who are traditional trad wives or stay-at-home girlfriends, when they break up with these men, they're left with nothing. They literally sort of become like beggars. They are crying all over the internet, all over the place. They become miserable because they never took financial independence or financial matters into their hands. They trusted someone else to do it for them. Remember, you are the god of your own life. I keep telling even my daughter, you yourself as an individual, you're a god. Okay? You're a god. So why is it that you're a god and you're putting someone else in charge of yourself? What does that mean? You don't trust yourself. You belittle yourself. You don't have faith in yourself. You don't believe you can do things these people are doing out there. Or you just don't want to face the challenges that people are facing out there. That makes you a coward. And you'll pay that price. You'll pay a very hefty price for that. Let's pray it doesn't come to that. Well, I'll give you a few risks. Financial risks of domestic dependency. Okay? So number one, you have no income, you have no savings. In simple terms, you have nothing growing for yourself. There's women out here who are relying entirely on their men or their spouses to do everything for them. So when it comes to savings, they are relying on the man's savings. When it comes to personal income, they have none. And even if they're saving anything, it's the little that the husband or the spouse will give them that they'll try and take something out of. So even their personal income comes from the spouse or the husband. And sometimes when things are bad, there's no guarantee access. For example, if you guys are fighting, and relationships, eventually you guys are bound to clash. You'll fight, you'll argue about something, and then maybe you find yourself dating someone who feels like, because I'm angry today, I don't feel like I want to provide. At the end of the day, you'll end up miserable and broke. So this is to say, if you don't have personal income, if you don't have a savings account, then it means also you don't have like an emergency fund. Of course, because you're relying on the insurance, whatever's from your spouse. That is only if you're legally married to this person. And it also means you don't have a retirement plan. You own nothing. So what happens when you guys break up? You just end up broke. It also means, as much as your parents, they brought you up, took you to school, where maybe you went to university or college, regardless, or you learned a skill, you lose your career. That means there's no progression when it comes to your career. You'll never grow. Because now you believe in being a traditional wife or being a stay-at-home girlfriend. A few years ago, those things used to work. But now, if you're still doing it, you're walking on thin ice, very thin ice. Anything could go wrong. At the rate at which things are going nowadays, anything could go wrong. So if you're not focused on your career, what does it mean? You lose in things like raised salaries because you're not working, right? So you also lose in things like experience. And nowadays when you want to go look for a job, one of the things they require is experience. They ask you how many years of we need someone who has 5 years experience. We need someone who has, I know you know these things. So you lose out on that also. You lose out on promotions because you never know what would have happened if you followed your career, or if you never gave up on yourself. What happens to your skill? It starts depreciating because it's not bringing you any money. It's not doing anything for you. So even to your parents, you're just a loss. You're not an asset. Even if you're an asset, you're a depreciating asset. Not only to your parents, even to yourself, and even to your spouse. Because you're bringing nothing. Yeah? And before you attack me, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to bring something for that relationship or that marriage, but also for yourself as a person. You're bringing nothing. You're adding nothing. No experience. You're not putting yourself out there. You can only imagine the kind of opportunities that you're missing. And if you're the type of person, or you're a woman who used to work, you're a lady who used to work and then you stopped working just because you got into a relationship or you got married, you lose the network that you had built. And normally, birds of the same feather flock together. People who work are friends with people who work. People who are trad wives are friends with trad wives. Because you have things in common. You have stuff to talk about. So this means you break your professional networks when you stopped working. So these are just losses. There's also a gap in your pension security. As I mentioned, the retirement plan, you have none. Meaning in future, you have no benefits. Have you thought about how you'll survive in your old age if you're not putting money aside for your retirement? If you're not putting money aside for your pension, how will you survive in your old age? You want to survive like our grandmothers? That is not happening. Not with these children we have nowadays. At the rate of which things are going, they'll start leaving you and taking you people, like you become old, and if you've not planned yourself as a woman, they'll leave you. They'll look for homes for the elderly, and that's where they'll take you, or they'll leave people the advaitura to come and check up on you. Another risk is you'll never have any asset in your name, unless you're one of those very lucky women. You'd be very lucky if a man like truly loves you and he's willing to go all the way with you. They are willing to put your name under assets, real assets. So in most cases, you'll find even if you guys have a house, your name is not on the lease or on the title or on whatever. If it's a car, you can be driving a car, but it doesn't belong to you. Okay? It's not your name that is on the logbook. You own nothing. But you're one of those people who are flaunting everything. You're busy driving your husband's car, living in a very nice house in a very posh estate. Very nice. But your name is not on the lease. Okay? When we look at documentation, there's hakuna jina yako hapo. You have no liquid asset. In case something goes left, or if things go left, you can say, this is what I have. No. You have no investments. You have no land anywhere. You have nothing. This is where you find the man is doing everything. When he buys a house, it's his name. When he buys a car, or several cars, whatever, his name. Land, his name. Any property, his name. Nothing is under your name. You have no claim without a legal battle. That's the only way you can, and you might win or not. And nowadays, especially here in Kenya, you see the way things are going. There's men who want the dowry back. It doesn't matter how many children you gave birth to, how many children you gave this man. They don't see all that. They don't want to let go. And that is not a wake-up call for you as a woman out there. Something is wrong. You need to think, you need to take financial independence very seriously as a woman. Because it's not a joke out here. You need to step out sometimes and talk to women, talk to people. Women who've made these mistakes. There's nothing as awful. Okay, you can start at any age, but start building yourself now. Don't wait until things have become worse. Don't wait until extremities. That's when you're starting to do something for yourself. When you don't have the energy. When all your networks have dissolved. That's when now, reality hits you. Don't wait for that. Another risk that comes with you not being independent financially is there's unequal bargaining power in your relationship, in your marriage. Okay? Because now the one who's working, the one who brings in the money has the upper hand. He's the one who calls the shots, whether you like it or not. So, every time you have a financial request, anything that has to do with finances, you have to negotiate with this person. Okay? As I said, this person becomes like your God. Anything financial, you have to ask. Ni kama kuwaomba ruhusa. You have to ask for permission, or you have to consult them. You guys don't share the same power. One of you is powerful than the other one. And it's very unfortunate because you are the one who handed that power to that person. Your power to this person, to your spouse. Okay? So every financial request becomes a negotiation. And they have to think, hey, they have to think if they really want to come through for you. They have to think if it makes sense to them or not. And this is where, if you listen to these women who divorce later, if they were not working and stuff like that, you'll hear them saying how they were being denied money for even simple basics. You never used to leave money for food. Even on social media, you'll hear these stories. Yeah? Because you refuse to work, you refuse to take financial matters into your hands. So, if someone or a spouse can refuse to give you money for basic needs, you think they're going to give you money for personal goals? They'll never. But guess what? You allowed it. You showed them you do not prioritize financial independence. And these people are not stupid. These men are not stupid. They see. Okay? They study you. The same way. We live in an era where sahi ni kusomana tunasomana. Agree with me, whether you like it or not. We are using each other one way or another. Okay? You just find someone who you feel you can accommodate, and vice versa. You have to accommodate each other. And that's why you hear nowadays people ask, what do you bring to the table? Okay? Hiyo ni kusomana tu. Yeah? So woe unto you if you show these men, as women out there, that you don't prioritize financial independence. If you show a man you're giving him all the power when it comes to finances, that you can't even go work for your little amount of money, they will control you. Okay? Which I think, on the other hand, I wouldn't be so harsh towards men, because I think if I was in a relationship, even as a woman, and the man brings nothing to the table, I was in control. Consciously or unconsciously, I'll just be, let's just say they will not find me very pleasant. Okay? Because at the end of the day, your spouse is a human, and human beings get tired. You might come to me with your basic needs, and I have stress about bigger fish. I have bigger fish to fry, and you're coming to me with your mena. I might even despise you, because I'll think like, how can you not solve such a small problem? Even with my daughter, I live with my daughter, and I always tell her, I cannot be out here trying to solve big problems, and you're here and you cannot solve the small problems. No. You have to help out some way, somehow. And it doesn't mean that I hate her. I love her so much. So what makes you think in a relationship, in a marriage, this is someone you've met as a grown-up, you don't know, you don't have, like, you don't share the same blood, or the same parents. You are totally two different people. And you expect this person to come through to do totally everything. They are going to get tired eventually. Okay? And that's why money, finances, is the number one reason people are getting divorced nowadays. Okay? It's among the top, let's say, the top 3 reasons people are, marriages are failing. Because honestly, this is where I side with men. You cannot come and ask me for money for tomatoes and nyanyas. We've been married for some time. Why can't you be able to afford those small things? As a woman, you need to be able to afford these things. Okay? Being this passenger princess, these are just stories. That's not real life. Real life doesn't happen like that. So if your dream there is to, as a woman, is to become a trad wife, to become a stay-at-home girlfriend, you better wake up. Look for something, even if it's something small you can do. Look for something small you can do. Find a way you can always chip in. I'm not saying it. You might think that I'm saying you have to do massive things like your husband. No, 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 no. Just make sure in case anything happens, you will be able to survive. Okay? Because at the end of the day, remember, this man is not your brother or your father or your son. And people change. He might change on you, and you need to be okay with that if that ever happens. Especially, you need to be okay financially if that ever happens. Another risk is when you don't have your own money, it means you don't do banking and stuff like that. So you have no credit history with institutions like banks and SACCOs and stuff like that. Okay. This means if you ever have a problem, you have no borrowing ability. These are things you keep assuming, and this is how men tend to grow. Ata mkiachana, men keep thriving because they are working. They have good relationships with these banks and these facilities. So whenever something happens, they can be able to start over. They can borrow a loan, start a business, do something. But for women, it becomes very, very difficult because now you used to rely on your husband's or your spouse's bank account. So this means without independent income, if you don't have your own income, it means there's a high chance even if you have a bank account, it's not active because there's no money coming in. So this means building credit or you qualifying for something simple as a loan becomes a problem. You can't ask for a loan under your name. It's impossible. You'd have to wait for 6 months. And these are 6 months where your account needs to be very active. There's money coming in and going out. So you see how difficult that will be for you as a woman. Be financially independent. And that's why I say, you see a lady selling watermelon eggs out there. They are way better, far better than that trad wife or that stay-at-home girlfriend. You might feel nice because you're living in that man's house. But remember that at the end of the day, if it's not under your name, you're just a guest. You're a passerby. You're just passing by. And nothing is promised to you. Besides, nobody is promised forever anyway. The earlier you start being financially independent as a woman, the better for you. Another risk is these women who say, I'm sure you've heard of them. Now, because you're married or you have a boyfriend, that man's money is our money. My friend, let me tell you, you see, his money is his money. His house is his house. His car is his car. His investments are his investments. And if you're this type of person who keeps thinking that his money is our money, his money is... that's a trap. You're trapping yourself with that kind of mentality. And you need to stop thinking like that. You need to change your mindset. Stop living like you're in the olden days. These are not the olden days. These are weird. These are very weird days we are living. Very... You don't know what will happen tomorrow or even tonight. And this is where you find these trad wives and these stay-at-home girlfriends. Their spouses control everything from spending. If they are going out, the spouses control everything. While they are very naive, let me not call them stupid, they are too naive, justifying this man's luxuries as earned stuff. You're driving this man's car, and you're naive to think this luxury that you're using, you've earned it. My dear, you've not earned anything. You're just buying time. And if you don't change, it will blow on your face. And you know what people love doing? People are spectators. They're always trying to look for something to talk about. And they'll talk about you. Okay? If you don't prioritize your financial independence, you are the next topic. We just don't know the date yet. So women, you need to start decentering men and prioritize your finances. Okay? A man is not a plan. A man is not a financial plan. So if you're looking at your husband or your boyfriend and you think that this is my plan, my friend, wake up. And this is because a man can leave. He can leave you and there's nothing you can do about it. You'll just cry, cause drama. At the end of it, if a man doesn't want you, he doesn't want you. Okay? He can leave. He can die. He can become disabled, paralyzed. Anything can happen. Worst case scenario is he can even lose his job. And you're there thinking he's your financial plan. Ama, you've not seen men losing everything. It can happen to anyone. Nobody is immune to these things. And at the same time, a man in the beginning can be like, I'm supporting you. He can support you in the beginning. But he can change his mind. He's allowed. He can stop supporting you. Okay? So a man is not a plan. A marriage is also not a plan. A marriage is not a financial plan. Ati now, because we men, we need to wake up. Aki, we need to style up. Ati now, because you're married and this man looks wealthy, umefika. Let me tell you, those are his things. Unless this man seriously decides, now, this house, let's go change the documents, and he's clear with you. Ati now this car, the logbook is under your name. Unless all that has happened, you need to wake up. You need to start prioritizing things. Because just because you're married to this man, it doesn't mean there's a financial plan. Ati now you're financially independent because you're married to anga who and who, anga so and so. My friend, my dear, you're lying to yourself. In case you haven't noticed, nowadays divorce rates are very high. Ziko juu sana. People are divorcing like nobody's business. Alimony is shrinking. If it's not shrinking, it's capped. Nowadays, you've seen men. Hey, they're learning from each other. They're hiding assets. Under their mother's names. Under their brother's names. And kasijui where. They're hiding assets. All this to avoid equal division. It doesn't matter how many children you've given birth to. And that's not enough for you to prioritize your financial independence as a woman. Amka, you need to wake up. We are living in very dangerous times. Women, you need to style up. At the rate in which men are waking up, women, we need to wake up. And I always say, if you checked my former video, I was telling women, you might not be able to be at the same level with these men, but at least learn from them. Copy the methods they are using. If a man wakes up in the morning, goes to work, find something you can do, even if it's a small job. Wake up, also go to work. Look for your own money. It's for your own betterment. Take care of your future. Nobody is going to take care of it for you. Remember, at the end of the day, if you put all your eggs in one basket, at this man or your spouse is the one who's handling your finances, remember, the hand that feeds you is the same hand that can starve you, because you've given it that power. The hand that feeds you is the same hand that will starve you. And you'll have no one else to blame but yourself. Economic or financial dependency is, again, a top reason for financial abuse. If you listen to these stories of these women who come to talk about how they were financially abused, it's because they gave this man the power. Or they allowed this man to convince them to stop working. I'll take care of you. That's very dangerous. Never stop doing what you want to do just because a man asked you. They might even be testing you, and then you failed that test. But at the end of the day, remember, this is just a marriage, and marriages are breaking. What happens to you after you've divorced? What happens to you if you think this very strong relationship breaks? What happens to you if this guy decides to break up with you? He doesn't want anything to do with you. A man can decide to cut you off. And as I said, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay? He can decide to control you using his money, to control your behavior, and in worst case scenarios, punish you. People use money to punish. You don't want that to happen to you. As you've seen in Kenya now, there's dowry return laws. You guys divorce, I've talked to some men. There are men who are saying they don't want their dowry returned. They're okay with it. They parted with it. They're fine. But there's men who will just be weird and they'll want it returned. Okay? People are different. So now, upon any divorce, dowry paid to your family must be returned, treating you, the woman, as a transaction rather than a partner. That's a huge, that's a wake-up call. That's like the system screaming at your ear. Wake up. That's patriarchy slapping you as a woman, telling you you need to wake up, you need to style up. Okay? Nobody is rooting for you. You are in a situation where you are considered as a transaction. And you're smiling about it, you're laughing about it. That's not funny. It's not funny at all. Actually, as much as men are angry at women are gold diggers and they're in it for money, it's a transaction. Because if we can get married, you take dowry to my parents, and then I have children for you, there's things we've done, and all that becomes null and void because we disagree and decide to have a divorce, then you need your dowry returned. Then it means this was not a marriage, this was a transaction. So as a woman, see it as it is. See that as it is. Okay? Stop. We've been fooled by love for a very long time. Hey, women, we are lovers. But we need to style up. We need to wake up. Okay? Remember, marriage benefits men more than women. According to studies, you'll see a married man lives longer than a single man. A married man has the ability to earn more and be promoted and do so much when he's married. He can acquire a lot when he's married. That's one symbol or a sign how marriage favors men. Okay? Married women, on the other hand, do a lot of unpaid labor. And at the end of it all, they are the ones who have worse health outcomes. Married women. Okay? And let me tell you something. You see, if marriage strongly benefited women, if women were the number one people to be benefiting from marriages, these patriarchal systems, they would have restricted it a very long time ago. They wouldn't have allowed it. But they allow it because it benefits the men. Now, let's say this relationship or marriage becomes abusive or unfaithful. Although unfaithful, you know, it can go both ways. But let's say in this instance, the man is the one who's abusive or he becomes unfaithful. Then it means you have no safety net. When you as a woman have no income of your own and your husband is abusive, there's a high chance you don't even know how to start leaving that marriage or that relationship because you have no funds. And now you see nowadays the problem is leaving requires you proving abuse. So how do you prove abuse? You need cameras, you need what? All these things cost money. So it's often very hard to get this proof. So if you don't have the money, what do? You end up accepting poverty. You end up accepting that relationship of abuse. And that's why you find a lot of women are not able to leave their abusive marriages or their cheating spouses. I hope you're getting my point, my dear. It's okay to be a trad wife, to be a traditional wife or a stay-at-home girlfriend, because there's good men out there. But don't be a trad wife to a non-trad man, okay? Because he will not see who you are or where you're coming from, okay? Don't, because you people are not aligned. You see, problem is, many men nowadays, many men want a stay-at-home wife or a stay-at-home mom. But these are still the same men who will not share assets with these women, who they call their wives. They'll not provide fair allowances to these wives or to these girlfriends, and they will not respect their unpaid labor. You'll find them arguing about these things actually. Making it seem like whatever you're doing at home cannot be equated to money. You'll find them arguing about these things. An untried man will expect your submission without reciprocity. Woman, dependency on a man will destroy you, whether you choose to see it or not. It will come with loss of identity. You lose yourself. And this is because most of the time, you'll find your life will revolve around his. Okay? Your life will revolve around this man's schedule, his needs, his wants, and most of the times, his preferences. You'll never have a say. If he decides he wants to buy land everywhere, you'll have nothing to say. If he wants to buy a certain type of car, you have nothing to say because you're chipping nothing. There's not. Okay? You're always there at the back seat. So you're no longer even a passenger princess. At least the passenger princess sits in front. So now you are the back seat. You become an observer and a listener. You're on the watching end and receiving end. And this is because you showed this man or this man that your desires are secondary, that your needs are secondary. How? When you showed them that you don't prioritize your financial independence. And woe unto you if you don't have an exit strategy, of which, as I mentioned, exit strategies have to do with money. If you want to move, even in Nairobi, in Kenya, costs you money. So it means, if you're not financially dependent, if you don't work as a woman, even if you're looking, then it means you have no exit strategy. So in dangerous and happy situations, where even a small child can see you need to leave, you can't leave. You can't leave because you have no money. You can't leave because you have no job. You can't leave because you have no housing lined up. You're stuck. You and poverty are like this. Even if you're married to this rich man, in case of widowhood or divorce, you find yourself, you're middle-aged. That's the time you're trying to enter the workforce with no experience, nothing. And then you come online to complain about age discrimination. Your skills are super outdated. You never followed up. And these are the same women who are always starting from zero. Do you know how difficult it is to start from zero? Especially if you're middle-aged or you're older. It's not easy. Because at that time, everyone expects umejipanga. It's easier for someone in their 20s to start over. I'm not saying you can't start over. I'm just saying the levels of how, the difficulty. Especially if you don't have finances. Someone younger asking for money, this is different. But when you're older, and maybe you are driving these big cars and we were seeing you, for you to come and tell us that you need us to help you, that becomes a problem. Like how? What happened? This comes to the networking, the people I was mentioning. If you are working, the people you surround yourself, your group of people can be able to help you out. But now if you're a trad wife or a stay-at-home girlfriend and things go south, your circle still doesn't have money. Most of them, they didn't prioritize their financial independence because you surround yourself with people who think like you. If you're into business, you surround yourself with people in business. If you're a trad wife or stay-at-home girlfriend, you'll surround yourself with the same people because you'll have a lot to talk about. You have a lot in common. Okay? Looks like it will rain. You'll also see women out here romanticizing things like subjugation. I think for you to do that, you must be mad. I'm sorry, That's my opinion. And for lack of a better, softer word. And this is because trad wife content out here erases the reality of drudgery. It erases the reality of isolation and financial terror that millions of pre-feminist women experienced. So there's no winning if you don't prioritize your finances as a woman. Because even if you guys divorce, even if you go to court, labor at the end of the day is unpaid. And legally, it's invisible. You can't go to court and say that you washed dishes, you cooked, and you cleaned the house. That in itself is legally invisible. That cooking, I cooked, I cleaned, there was childcare, emotional management. That's why I tell women, before you enter into these marriages and relationships, you need to be very super selfish. Because men are extremely selfish. A man will always put himself first. You better do that as a woman. There's a video of mine I said, if you really have a lot of love and emotion that you feel like it's disturbing you, please give it to your children. If you don't have children, look for a pet, a dog or a cat. Find something that you can pour that love into. You can choose to disagree with me until the day you are left, and then you'll come looking for this video. That's the moment you'll start agreeing with me. Okay, don't do it for me. Do it for yourself at least. Yeah? So, all those things, emotional management, childcare, blah, 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 they have no market value on a balance sheet. Yani. Okay? I'm not saying when you come to this as a maid or, as like that is your profession. No. I'm saying as a woman in a relationship, in marriage, it has no market value on a balance sheet. That's nothing legally, actually. Courts never compensate that fully. Okay? So if that's the only thing you're thinking at when you go to court, that's what you're going to tell the judge, think again. Okay? Have a rethink. So, and remember I said, he could die, he could become disabled tomorrow. If no insurance named you, or disability coverage named you, my dear, you'll be left with nothing. And if you have bad luck, possibly, you'll be left even with medical debt. Besides, see, he's your husband, he's your boyfriend. Let's see what you'll do with your trad wife beliefs and stay-at-home girlfriend mentality. Anyway, my point is, bottom line is, make your own money as a woman. Hata kama ni kidogo, make your own money. Jitume. Keep your own accounts. Have your own personal account. And make sure it has money in it. Even if it doesn't have money, make sure pesa inapita hapo ikitoka. Make sure your accounts are active, super active. Maintain your careers or skills. Nowadays, you can even work from home. That's the beauty of being in 2026. Life nowadays, you can work from home. But most importantly, the most important thing is never hand out or hand over your financial control. Don't ever do that. Okay? Marry if you want. I'm not saying that people should not get married. Marry if you want, but as an equal. Okay? You become equals, not as a dependent, because you didn't enter this relationship as a child. Marry as an equal, and that applies in every aspect, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially, in every aspect. Marry as an equal. And this is because a real partnership does not require your economic vulnerability. When someone loves you and respects you, they will want you to become a better person. They will want the best for you. A real partnership, they will want you as a woman to prioritize your financial dependence. Okay? Because this person you're interacting with, who you're married to, if they are smart enough, they should know, they should see, anything can happen to me as a man. So if I die and you're left with my children, you need to be okay. So they need to push you to empower yourself also. Okay? You need to be in a relationship with someone who will tell you being a trad wife is not enough. If something goes wrong, I want to be comfortable. I want to know that you have things in place. You can be able to handle things. Being in a relationship with a stay-at-home girlfriend, I'm not saying it's bad. But it always sometimes great to think about the pros and cons. If life happens, if things don't go as you planned, what happens? There's good men out there, but you never know the one you'll end up with. People are tested over time. Love covers a lot of things, but time exposes a lot of things. Okay? So whenever you're tested, in real partnership, a man will want you as a woman to be able to handle things. Okay? Especially financially. Because right now we live in a world where almost everything is controlled by finances. Okay? Access, finances. Yeah, literally everything is controlled by finances. So, I don't know what you think about that, but I think it's very important. I hope I didn't lose you, I hope you get my point. I hope this helps, even if it's one person. That's what really matters. But women, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't do that. It's not worth it. As they say, I am that I am. I am that I am. He is Yahweh. It's Jehovah Rapha. Jehovah Jireh. I am that I am. And I am Miss Muithathi. Well, that's it for us today. I don't know what you think. Let me know in the comment section. It's getting rather dark. Looks like it will rain heavily. I gotta run a few errands here and there. And I hope to catch you next time. Cheers, and see you in my next video.